20-year-old who fled police in Springfield yesterday afternoon, leading them on a destructive chase into Agawam, faced the judge earlier today.
Western Mass News reporter Glenn Kittle joining us live now in Springfield with more details on the police's decision to that pursuit past the city line. Glenn.
Yeah, Chris Savvy, Springfield Police spokesperson Ryan Walsh tells me that investigators believe that Davy Quinones was going to commit a violent crime, and that gave officers the green light to continue that pursuit. 20-year-old Davy Quinones standing in court on Friday facing multiple firearms charges and a slew of charges related to Thursday's Springfield police pursuit of Quinones, who was being investigated for an alleged possession of an illegal firearm before fleeing from detectives. Quinones taking the wheel of a white Audi, bashing into several vehicles, including police cruisers, before leading police on a chase through Springfield over the South End Bridge into Agawam. Quinones heading back toward the Route 57 rotary, where he crashed into a police cruiser and was eventually arrested. 3 Springfield police officers sustaining minor injuries during the ordeal. Springfield police spokesperson Ryan Walsh tells Western Mass News Springfield police have shared agreements with area law enforcement agencies, allowing pursuits like these to cross municipal borders. Walsh adds investigators had enough information to know Quinones had a gun in his possession and was planning to use it.
This was a felony instance with a known individual with a firearm. With the information that our firearms detectives had, they believe that he was going to go and shoot someone, so it likely prevented someone from getting shot.
Police say Quinones ditched the gun in Agawam, a pistol with a 50-round drum magazine. Nick Cannon lives on one of those roads in Agawam where the chase took place, capturing this video. He tells Western Mass News, quote,
"I was inside watching TV when I heard a bunch of police cruisers pass my house. I then went outside to see what was going on, and that's when the suspect's vehicle had made a U-turn and headed back my direction. He had multiple tires flattened. The suspect threw his firearm out the window into the tree line right across the street from my house."
Walsh advises drivers who happen to be on the road during any police pursuit to keep your eyes and ears open.
When you see emergency lights, pull over to the side. It's there's a pullover law in Massachusetts, so if you see emergency lights, whether it's a police cruiser, fire truck, ambulance, whatever it may be, pull over and leave as much room for the emergency vehicles as you can.
Walsh tells us the 3 officers that were injured during this incident were sent to Bay State Medical Center to get checked out and were released last night. Meanwhile, Quinones, facing a judge earlier today, was ordered to remain in custody without the right to bail. Reporting live in Springfield, Glenn Kittle for Western Mass News.
All right, Glenn, thank you for that live report. And now our team coverage on yesterday's violence in the city of Springfield. Turning to Western Mass News reporter Reagan Locree.
She joins us live in studio with reaction from Springfield Mayor Sarno. Reagan, what did he have to say?
Well, Abby and Chris, during yesterday's police chase that Glenn was just talking about, Mayor Sarno tells us he was listening to police scanners the whole time, following along, and he commends the work done by the city's police officers. However, between that arrest and the shooting, where a 16-year-old is charged, he's concerned for public safety.
This individual put a lot of people in harm's way, but my reaction after I get more information on it, I'm very upset.
Springfield Mayor Sarno sharing with Western Mass News his reaction to Thursday's police chase that started in Springfield and ended in Agawam. The pursuit eventually leading police to the arrest of 20-year-old Davy Quinones, who was in possession of an illegal firearm. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, shots were fired around 2 p.m. Thursday afternoon on Berkshire Avenue. We're told by Springfield police that a man was shot near the Berkshire Arms apartment complex, and a 16-year-old shooting suspect is now in custody. Western Mass News caught up with Mayor Sarno on Friday following the day of chaos in his city. He tells us Quinones was out on probation for previous firearms-related charges, while a 16-year-old had a history of his own.
That individual's a juvenile. It's sickening. 16 years old, and he shot someone. And he has passed, from my understanding, he's passed juvenile issues too.
The gunshot victim was transported to Bay State Medical Center with serious injuries. Meanwhile, the Springfield police officers involved in the police chase were sent to the hospital and released the same day with minor injuries. Mayor Sarno says both situations put public safety at a significant risk.
Yesterday, on that chase, could have been devastating. With people getting hurt, vehicles that were hit, somebody could have got killed there.
And although there is new gun legislation waiting for the governor's signature, Mayor Sarno says it's not enough.
The gun bill, again, with a couple of good things in it, but they're targeting the wrong people. They should be targeting these repeat violent criminal offenders.
Mayor Sarno adds with millions of dollars already being invested in youth programs throughout Springfield, it's up to the courts to keep repeat violent offenders behind bars.
Mayor Sarno tells me in addition to the numerous youth programs they have available in the city, he has also partnered with the Hampden County Sheriff's Department to develop camps for kids in the city, in particular those whose parents have been incarcerated. Reporting live in studio, Reagan Lockery for Western Mass News.
Thank you for that live report.